Today, we're going to learn some knowledge.
Learn some knowledge. Welcome to your first, we should have a name for this
We
session.
should. You should give someone extra credit to name it
To name it, okay. So, yeah, we talked about this ahead of time, but if you can find a name for our
Rochelle's calling
sessions.
and Sarah's. No. We'll ignore it. I'm very popular, so guys.
Okay. Your sister, I don't know if that classifies as popular.
Let me just
Are you
tell
really
them.
answering your
Well,
phone?
they're very, it'll be in it. Hey guys, I'm filming something for school. You can say hi. My sisters. But yeah, I'll call you guys back.
Well, we only had 10 minutes, so we wanted to say hi. And we
Oh,
love
you're
you.
so sweet. I love you guys too. Sorry, I'm really
we can end this and
No.
then you can.
No, it's okay.
No.
Okay, I love you. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
This is a great start. As you can tell, we have very high production value.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, so if you can think of a name.
For this session thing that we do, and or a theme song, I'll give you 10 points extra credit because
10%. That was almost
so
a
like
lot.
10 points come up with a name. So if you come up with like, I don't know, Mrs. Magera's learns history, but something cooler than that, or like
I don't know. History. It's fine.
okay. But today we're talking about the first civilizations, and we're going to be just discussing them and talking about how they first
That's
came to be.
basically what this is you guys get to watch Mr. Magera teach me while he's teaching you.
Because
But
that's
you
the
guys,
most fascinating thing. we
you
can
guys
think of.
can't say sarcastic comments, but I can't because I'm married to him and he's not grading me.
That's it, yeah. So we're starting with our first civilization. So we're going to come over here. Woohoo! Look at that. Cool technology. All right, so the first civilizations we're talking about how they started from these one place and eventually grew into these civilizations that we have today. And civilization is basically just like a country almost, or like a group of people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what the pyramid is.
Yeah, that's good, knowing what the pyramids are. That's a great start. Proceed going. So before humans were in civilizations, Hannah, do you know what they did?
They hunted and they gathered.
Yes, they were hunters and gatherers.
And I'm assuming that gender roles were very instilled. So I'm going to assume that the men were the hunters and the women were the gatherers.
Wow, you're right, Hannah.
Wow.
Yes, they were the
What
men.
can I say?
Men hunted things because they did the manly things because they were very gender roles. So men like hunted things like woolly mammoths or like cows. I feel like it was a wild cow back then.
Wow.
There were wild
Went from
cows.
woolly mammoth to cow.
I know, there's some, if you're kind of a smaller guy, maybe catch a rabbit. But anyways, and the woman would gather things. So they would go off and they would try to catch, they'd go to the bushes and maybe find some berries or like dig in something and find a root. I don't know exactly what they did, but they went there and they would find different foods. And this is how they would get food. The problem with this way, though, is that because there was so much work, you usually lived in small groups because you didn't have enough food to feed large amounts of people. So these are small groups.
Like a clique?
Kind of like a clique, but not really a clique.
Like, would they let other people into their clique?
Sometimes, yeah. I'm sure if they found a few people.
Wait, are we talking like married people? Like a bunch of couples live together?
Like around 20 people, 20 to 30 or maybe
that's
40.
More
Yeah.
than, I was thinking like 6.
Think of like tribes. Example of this would be like Abraham in the Bible. He was like
Abraham
when these
and
nomadic guy
Sarah.
moved around with his herds.
I know them.
Yeah, that's great that you know them. Growing up in the church has done you well.
I know them.
I know.
You have a cousin named Sarah who married an Abraham.
That's true. That is very interesting.
Irony.
So these are usually small groups, but this would begin, and let's look real quick what these look like. All right, so the men, as we talked about, zoom out, there we go. Men were the hunters. As you can see that picture there with the woolly mammoth. Look at the men circling on that woolly mammoth. I think I used my pen thing for the first time. That's pretty cool.
Ooh.
Let's change color to red because that stands
Look at
out
all these
more.
gender roles.
So, yeah, they're
the women
doing
gathering
this.
berries
Women usually
and
gathered.
taking care of children.
I know that they did the job of two. That's a working mother. So when you complain about having to take care of kids at home, realize that they had to do it, and she's carrying
Excuse
a
me, who cooks and who cleans?
She also has they do the same thing, and she has a basket tied to her
Okay,
head.
so if anything, I'm like her. It's not.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a more
in spite of
wussy
her.
version of her, but that's okay.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. When's the last woolly mammoth you hunted?
I don't know. Never.
Schooled.
And what's called a fish. They also did cave art. You can see this man right here. This is where the cave
Love
paintings
that.
come from.
So artistic.
Usually in like colder places they stayed in because caves aren't exactly the funnest place to live. They're scary and monsters and trolls live there. That's not real. Please don't tell your science teacher I said that. People learn to use fire, tools, and stuff like that. So these are the hunter-gatherer communities. this would begin to change. Are you interested in how this would change?
Oh my word, you have no idea.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
I'm so interested.
I know. So these first change into what are called river valley, and these are the first civilization, these river valleys. And you can see the main ones are right here. The Nile River. Let me get my cool handy dandy pen out. So the Nile River was a big one. Mesopotamia was a big one. Indus Valley was a big one, and the Yellow River in China was a big one. And you can kind of see where the world these were.
So all these people were by the rivers.
Yeah, that's a good comment. Yes,
Do you
wow.
think
A
that
plus for
the
Hannah.
ones over here were in denial? Get
Yes,
it?
they were in
Denial.
They were beside denial. They were denial adjacent.
Ooh, I like
if you
this
will.
thing.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you took over the pen's function. And so what would happen is that people begin to move from their small communities into these big areas because you know what's cool about areas like this? What you can do, what you can't do in other areas?
What? Please go
You
on.
can grow crops. So they would grow things
I
like.
have a question.
Yes.
So if they were moving, like, oh, I don't want to be in denial anymore. I want to go over here. Would it be like the equivalent of changing a city, or would it be like equivalent to like changing a country?
No, it'd be very different because the civilizations are completely different. For example, in China, they grew rice. Look at me spelling. Wow, so much skill there.
That R is horrid.
Your R is horrid. So they grew rice, but then in the Nile they grew wheat and like barley and stuff. So they're very different where you'd go. But these were the first civilizations to begin to develop. And these civilizations, they developed their own culture. They would have different religions. The pyramids were built in the Nile. We talked about that some.
Love a good pyramid.
Yes, pyramids are the greatest. But the reason why they formed there is because there was water. So this water right here would allow them to have grow lots of crops and lots of food. And they didn't have to spend all day going places and trying to find food to try to gather stuff. They could stay at home. You could have a nice little farm out back. You know, the day go take a swim in the Nile, then go work on your fields a little bit, come back, kiss the wife,
So did
make
they
some
not
babies.
have currency?
They didn't have currency as we would have it. They didn't have coins or anything like that. But they would
Because
like
they made their own food. They grew it.
yeah, and you would basically trade that. So it'd be like, hey, I'll give you 5 things of corn for 1 ox head, and then you'd be like, okay, that's cool.
Ew, that sounds okay.
That sounds
Not
like
ew. That was probably really cool.
And so this is where the first civilizations developed. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about that?
You know,
These-
I'm so into this. I don't have any questions.
Oh, that's good. Well, the students are going to actually have to learn each one of these 4 civilizations. So maybe we should make an acronym for something. So
Oh, okay. Well, the
Egypt-
Nile is easy. Denial.
I mean, that's not an acronym. I'm saying like something for each one.
Oh.
So the Yellow River, the Indus Valley, Tigris, and Egypt. We'll call it Egypt's Mesopotamia and Egypt. We'll call Mesopotamia, Egypt, Indus Valley, and Yellow River. So that's EMIY.
EMIY.
We can spell it. No, we can do mini.
Mini? There's
Yeah.
no N.
I guess that'd be the Nile. Yeah.
Wait, why can't it be the Nile? Is Mesopotamia?
Okay, we do it now. Yeah. So
Mini.
M-I-N-Y. Mesopotamia, Nile, Indus Valley, Yellow. No,
You did
I
that
spelled
wrong.
I spelled many wrong. That's a bad start. So yeah, Mesopotamia, Indus Valley, Nile, and what do we call it? Yellow Valley.
You know,
River.
it makes sense since you figured that out so well. I'm sure they'll be able to remember it since you can't remember it. You're staring at it.
Well, they can come up with something else. Maybe they want us to do a NIMI.
Whatever you would like to do.
Oh, okay. I think that pretty much ends our time for today.
No, there's one more thing.
Oh, what is the thing we have to do?
It's time for tea.
Tea.
So, I have my tea. Mr. Magera, it's time to tell us the goss. Tell us something about the first civilizations that we didn't know.
The first one that you didn't know. It's a lot. That
No, it
you
has to
didn't
be
know.
like, it has to be juicy.
It has to be.
It can't just be
juicy.
anything. It needs to be like, I don't know, all the men would like paint themselves blue when the women left.
That's the Blue Man Group, and that's something else.
I need some
Avatar.
tea. I need some tea.
Okay. Let me think what they would do. They would, in the Sahara Desert, it used to be covered with grass. So the Sahara Desert didn't used to be sand; it used to be grass. And the big reason why people moved to denial is because they weren't in denial about it becoming the Sahara Desert and desertification, so they had to leave because it turned into desert.
I planned on saying, and that's the tea, because this is tea, but that wasn't tea. Next time, I will find the tea
Yeah, well,
to make sure that you guys are all
Okay, that's good.
interested.
All right.
Well, we hope you
Yeah,
enjoyed
we should have a
this.
sign-off thing. But we really did not come prepared.
That's okay. This is the first time.
Yeah.
You guys are, hopefully you enjoyed it. I know I did. Because I learned a lot about rivers and hunters and gatherers. The fact that gender roles go back to, what year is this?
This is like 6,000 BC,
BC.
so like 8,000 years ago.
Before Christ.
Yeah.
That's long.
You're just proud you know what BC means.